Thursday is the NFL Draft, one of the biggest days of the year for a football fan, so we're going to get into it right now. Hey, this is if you're a Skins fan, Thursday is the day you've been waiting for basically your whole life. We're about to get our quarterback. So that being said, let's go into it. We'll do the top 10. Maybe I'll go a little further. I don't know. This is my mock draft of what I think is going to happen. Obviously, number one, the Colts. Look, I love RG3. The whole town loves RG3. Every Redskin fan loves RG3. But Andrew Luck is the right pick at number one for the Colts. He's more ready. Pro system. He's got all the tools. I mean, we know the deal with Andrew Luck. I mean, best prospect since Elway. You know, he's... The Colts are so fucking lucky. I mean, these guys get Peyton Manning in 1998, and all they do is go to the playoffs every fucking year, win 12, 13 games, win a Super Bowl, go to another one, set at quarterback for 15 years. The guy gets hurt, damages his neck, career almost ends, and what do? They get the next one. Like the next one out of the factory. It's like, oh, we'll call this one Andrew Luck. Oh, and Indy, you can have him when Peyton Manning is done. Jeez. The lucky horseshoe, that's no shit. Number two, of course, the Redskins. They're going RG3. I mean, the guy's been at Tyson's Corner Mall like 3 times already. He's signing autographs. He's signing Redskins gear already. I mean, this guy, when he gets drafted, is going to be the biggest thing in this town. Period. He is going to dwarf everyone. Ovechkin, John Wall, Steven Strasburg. He is going to be bigger than life. It's going to be huge. I just hope that the pressure doesn't get to him, because the expectations on this kid before he sets foot on the field are going to be through the roof. By the time week 3 rolls around for the home opener for the Redskins, people are going to be frothing at the mouth. They're going to be like rabid dogs trying to see this guy. And Shanahan, if you try to pull that crap and you try the 8 car out there, old sexy Rexy, the other RG3, Rex Grossman 3 and out, for New Orleans in week 1, you might as well just stay in New Orleans. Don't get on the plane back to D.C. We want to see this kid on the field. We want to see him learn, and if it means being a disaster a couple weeks, fine. But we don't need Rex Grossman on the field. We don't. So basically, this is kind of a weird draft. I mean, the first 2 picks are pretty much set in stone. We know what's going to happen. Things aren't really going to start happening until the 3rd pick, Minnesota Vikings. A lot of people are talking about entertaining trade offers for the Vikings. Look, Minnesota, nobody is trading up for your 3 pick, okay? Cleveland, who needs a quarterback, knows that you're not taking a quarterback at 3. Dolphins probably can't afford the price it would cost to move up from 8 to get a quarterback at 3. And the quarterback they'd be looking at isn't worth the number 3 pick. So who's going to trade up? Somebody going to trade up to get Justin Blackmon, Trent Richardson up at 3? No. Minnesota, you're picking that. You're taking that pick. I'll be stunned if somebody trades up to 3. Stunned. So what do you got to do? You need somebody to protect your new quarterback's blind side. You need somebody to block for your all-pro running back. You also need a secondary in the worst way. But, you got to go with the sure thing. You got to go with Matt Khalil, the offensive tackle from USC. He's plug and play. You draft him, you sign him, you work him out a couple times, and on week 1 he goes on the field and he protects your quarterback's blind side for the next 12 years. Done. You just do it. They could go, their secondary, they're going to be dealing with the Lions, Stafford and Megatron. They're going to be dealing with Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall with the Bears. Aaron Rodgers and his 50,000 different receivers. So they're going to need a secondary, and their secondary blows. So Morris Claiborne here would work, but you're picking at 3. You need something that you absolutely must have, and teams that get left tackles are usually teams picking high. You got to get it while it's there. So I'm going Matt Khalil, number 3 from USC. Number 4, Cleveland Browns. Browns are another team. I mean, all these teams, these are the worst teams in the league. They need a lot. Cleveland Browns. They're one of a couple teams that don't have a quarterback, really. They have Colt McCoy, but, I mean, these guys need a lot of stuff, too. I mean, they need playmakers. They need a running back. They need offensive linemen. They need quarterback. They need everything. But, I'm kind of in that mold now with the rest of the league where you can kind of find running backs all over the place, driving down I-95, you're like, oh, there's a running back. You pick him up, he's like laying on the side of the road, you throw him in the back seat, you dust him off, you feed him, and then boom, he's running 1,500 yards. I mean, Mike Shanahan made a living on this. How many different 1,000-yard rushers did Mike Shanahan have with Denver? I mean, he probably had like 4 or 5. Orlandis Gary, Terrell Davis, was that Smith guy? I mean, he had a bunch of guys you never even heard of before. I mean, Clinton Portis ran wild, but I mean, he was pulling guys off the street. Mike Anderson, But the Browns aren't going to be able to say no to Trent Richardson, the running back from Alabama. This guy is legit. I think he's a better player coming out of college than Adrian Peterson is. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have a better career than Adrian Peterson. I'm not saying he's going to have as big an impact as Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson's offensive line when he came into the league was outstanding. Bryant McKinney, left tackle. Steve Hutchinson's left guard. I mean, that left side was amazing. He had Brett Favre as his quarterback. Percy Harvin coming out. He was a playmaker, dynamic. Bernard Berrien. They had Avante Shanko. I mean, this was a good team that he went to. So it helped him immediately. So I'm not saying Trent Richardson's going to go and blow up the rookie record books for running backs, but he's going to be a stud. He's got size, speed, power, moves. He can catch, he can block. He's more polished than Adrian Peterson coming out of Oklahoma when he came out. That being said, the Browns need a lot. They're still not going to have a quarterback. They still need some receivers. They need more. But the workhorse, the bell cow, the guy you give the ball to 20 times a game, I mean, they're in the AFC North because, Steelers, Ravens, some badasses in that division, man. You got to be able to run the football or you're not winning. So the Browns are going to go after Trent Richardson. 5th, Tampa Bay. Look, Tampa Bay would love Trent Richardson to fall to 5, but that's not going to happen. So you got to look at Tampa Bay, and they're going to take the best player on the board, and that's Morris Claiborne, the cornerback out of LSU. Not a huge corner. He's not one of these gigantic guys who play press coverage and cover the run. I mean, he's a technique guy. He's good at reading the quarterback. He's good at laying down the coverage in front of him. I mean, it is very... this guy, he's got all the tools to be a shutdown corner. He's going to be a number 1 corner. He's another guy, you plug him in, you sign him, you draft him, you train him, you exercise him, and boom, you put him on the field. Week 1, he's going to be a starter. If you can ball on LSU, you can ball in the pros. That's a fact. Morris Claiborne, I mean, this guy got no love because he was playing behind the Honey Badger and all these other big names that LSU had, but Morris Claiborne, he was a shutdown guy. He was the reason why LSU was in that title game to begin with, one of the reasons. So we're going Morris Claiborne with Tampa Bay at number 5. Number 6, the Rams. The Rams, they're picking 6. They got it from the Skins. These picks are going to be the picks that people are going to look back at to see. If the Rams are good in 10 years, they're going to look at this draft. They're going to look at this trade. So they have the Redskins 6th pick. They have 2 second-round picks this year. They have 2 firsts next year and 2 firsts the year after that. So they have a total of 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years and 4 second-round picks. That's 9 players, kids, in 2 rounds. That's a lot. Those are starters. If they do this right, the Rams are going to be good in the next couple years. They need to build around Sam Bradford. So what do? You give them a toy to play with. Justin Blackmon, wide receiver, Oklahoma State. It's got it written all over the place. They are ecstatic. They get the extra picks, they move back to 6, and they still get Justin Blackmon. He's kind of like the poor man's version of Larry Fitzgerald. He's not quite Megatron, who is. He's not quite Des Bryant, but he works hard, got good work ethic, good character. He's not going to get in trouble. He's not one of these diva receivers. He's going to be a stud. He's just not going to be the elite. He's going to be a top 10 receiver, though, and he's going to be Sam Bradford's new best friend in St. Louis. Number 7, Jacksonville Jaguars. This is where the one I'm not really sure they're going to go with. I'm going to say they're going to go with Iowa's offensive tackle, Riley Reiff. He's the best tackle left on the board. They could go defense, but they've gone defense a lot. They need to protect Blaine Gabbert a little bit more. So I'm going to say they go with Riley Reiff, the Iowa tackle. Miami Dolphins, they're my AFC team, you know. Football's the only game where you can have a team in the other league and you can call it, you're like, oh, this is my AFC team. Like, you know, how many of you Wizards fans are like, oh yeah, the Golden State Warriors, they're my Western Conference team? Or like, how many of you Nats fans are like, yeah, the Detroit Tigers, they're my AL squad? You don't do that. You do that in football, though. You're like, oh, yeah, I pull for Miami. They're the AFC team I root for. That's my AFC team. They suck. They're poorly run. They have a rich owner who doesn't know what they're doing. Sound familiar? They have a GM who's an idiot. Sound familiar? They're going nowhere fast. And what they're going to do is they're going to reach for Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback for Texas A&M. This guy's been a quarterback for about a half an hour, and they're going to take him at 8, and it's going to be a disaster, and it's going to be awful. Because they're getting public pressure to take a quarterback, and they didn't get one in the offseason, so they're going to reach and make a bad pick. Ryan Tannehill, quarterback, Texas A&M, Dolphins are going to take him. They're going to live to regret it. Team I think is going to be very exciting this year, picking at number 9, Carolina Panthers. These guys need defense. Their offense looks nice. They're going to go with Quentin Couples, defensive end, North Carolina. He's the best defensive end on the board. They're going to take the local guy. He's a Tar Heel. That'll be a fan favorite. Should be a pretty good pick, even though he's had some shaky character stuff going on. To round up the top 10, I'm going to say that the Buffalo Bills are going to go up, and they are going to draft Michael Floyd, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame. They need another playmaker. They give one across from Stevie Johnson, give Fitzpatrick a little bit more weapons. The Bills are trying to build something to compete in that tough division. That is the top 10 mock draft. We'll see how we did last week. That being said, football season is always something I treasure. And every year I go to Redskins games, and I meet a gentleman named Al Collier. And he passed away last week, and football season isn't going to be the same without him. He was a very, very generous, good friend of mine. I didn't know him as long as some other people did, but he touched the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people, mine included. And it's going to be different going to FedEx Field this year in lot F42 and not seeing the big guy there. And I just thinking about him a lot this week, and that's where we had our bond through football, and I'm going to miss him, and I'm going to enjoy the draft, and I'm going to miss talking about the draft with him. But Al Collier, thank you for everything. You're missed by all of us and remembered by all of us. We're going to miss you a lot. That's all I have. This has been the DC Sports Show. Have a good night.